The streets of New York City explode with euphoria as thousands of people pour into Times Square, celebrating the long-awaited end of World War II. It's August 1945, and the war that had gripped the world in devastation is finally over. Sailors and soldiers embrace strangers. Laughter and tears mingle in the electric atmosphere, and in the midst of it all, an iconic moment is captured: a sailor kissing a nurse in joyous relief. This is a city, a nation, and a world breathing a collective sigh of triumph and gratitude. Amid the chaos of the Spanish Civil War in 1936, a journalist, unarmed and unprotected, dashes across a crumbling bridge, clutching a baby in his arms. The air is thick with dust and the acrid smell of gunpowder, yet his only focus is the tiny, helpless life he holds. In a war defined by suffering, this single act of humanity shines as a testament to courage and compassion in the face of destruction. Paris, 1952, a young girl with a beaming smile radiates innocence and joy as she poses for the camera. Her world is filled with the charm of cobblestone streets, the scent of fresh baguettes, and the melody of street musicians. She is a symbol of post-war Paris, a city healing, finding laughter again, and embracing the beauty of life after years of turmoil. The raw brutality of war is immortalized in a single frame. Federico Borrell Garcia, a soldier in the Spanish Civil War, is captured in the instant of his death. Taken by famed photojournalist Robert Capa on September 5, 1936. This image of a man collapsing as a bullet finds its mark encapsulates the harrowing reality of combat. His sacrifice is now frozen in time, a haunting reminder of the cost of conflict. The Vietnam War, 1972, terror and pain etch themselves into the face of 9-year-old Phan Thi Kim Phuc as she flees a napalm airstrike, her clothes burned away by the firestorm. The children around her scream in agony, running from the invisible flames that sear their skin. This single image awakens the world to the horrors of war, compelling countless people to question the cost of military conflict. In 1963, at a busy Saigon intersection, Buddhist monk Thich Quang Duc sits in quiet defiance as he sets himself ablaze in protest of the persecution of Buddhists in Vietnam. His unflinching posture amidst the raging fire shocks the world, a silent yet deafening cry for justice. His sacrifice ignites a global conversation, his image forever a symbol of ultimate protest. Early 1900s, Pennsylvania. Young boys, covered in soot and exhaustion, sit hunched over conveyor belts in the coal mines of South Pittston. Their small hands sort through jagged rocks, their childhoods sacrificed to the grinding wheels of industry. These breaker boys, mere children, endure relentless labor in conditions that would soon lead to sweeping reforms in child labor laws. In New Westminster, Canada, 1940, a small boy breaks free from his mother's grasp, running toward his father, who marches in uniform toward an uncertain fate. His tiny, outstretched hand, the desperate longing in his eyes. This single moment captures the heartache of war, the separation of families, and the innocence that war so cruelly interrupts. After nearly 6 years in captivity, Lieutenant Colonel Robert L. Sturm steps onto the tarmac in 1973, greeted by the embrace of his family. His young daughter runs toward him, arms wide open, as tears of joy and disbelief fill the air. It is a moment of triumph, relief, and the painful reality of lost years that can never be reclaimed. In 1967, amidst a tense Vietnam War protest, a young woman stands before armed soldiers, extending a single flower toward their bayonets. Her silent defiance, a plea for peace in a world torn by violence, becomes an enduring image of resistance. In her quiet gesture, she speaks louder than words, embodying the power of non-violent protest. Amid the brutalities of the Korean War in 1952, Sergeant Frank Prater cradles a tiny, orphaned kitten, gently feeding it from a dropper. In the midst of destruction, this moment of tenderness reminds us that even in war, there is room for kindness. April 1945. Emaciated figures emerge from the shadows of the Holocaust as US Army soldiers arrive to liberate them. Their expressions shift from disbelief to pure relief as they taste freedom for the first time in years. The world bears witness to their suffering, vowing never to let history repeat itself. Standing tall in their uniforms, the Harlem Hellfighters pose proudly after receiving the French Croix de Guerre for their bravery in World War I. Despite facing discrimination at home, these black soldiers fought courageously on the front lines, proving their valor time and time again. The late 1800s, Mary Fields, a towering figure of grit and determination, stands beside her stagecoach. As the first black female mail carrier in the US, she delivers mail through treacherous terrain, armed with a shotgun and an unyielding spirit. Circa 1894, literary legend Mark Twain visits his friend Nikola Tesla, mesmerized by the inventor's groundbreaking experiments. In the dim glow of electric currents, two brilliant minds share a moment, each shaping the future in their own way. 1856. James Grizzly Adams, the legendary frontiersman, poses with his tame bear, a creature as wild as the man himself. Together, they roam the American wilderness, a testament to the untamed spirit of the frontier. During World War II, a group of Soviet women, trained as elite snipers, smile for the camera. With steady hands and iron resolve, they strike fear into the enemy, proving that bravery knows no gender. On January 1st, 1943, the brilliant yet forgotten Nikola Tesla sits alone, penniless and overlooked. Once a visionary, now an old man lost to time, his genius unrecognized by the world that had once celebrated him. 1953, amidst the grandeur of Queen Elizabeth II's coronation, young Prince Charles fidgets between his mother and grandmother, oblivious to the weight of history unfolding around him. 1990, surrounded by his family, David Kirby lays dying of AIDS. The image, raw and heartbreaking, forces the world to confront the devastating human cost of the epidemic, sparking a movement for awareness and compassion. Amid the chaos of World War II, an unlikely hero emerges, Wojtek, a Syrian brown bear adopted by the Polish 22nd Artillery Supply Company. More than a mascot, Wojtek carries ammunition, drinks beer with his comrades, and even earns the rank of private. His legend grows as he marches with his unit, embodying the resilience and camaraderie of soldiers at war. In 1981, the world watches as boxing champion Muhammad Ali approaches a man threatening to jump from a building in Los Angeles. With a voice filled with kindness and conviction, Ali persuades him to step back, offering not just words of comfort, but a promise of support. In that moment, the greatest fighter in the world wins his most meaningful battle, not with his fists, but with his compassion. On November 14, 1960, 6-year-old Ruby Bridges walks through the doors of William Frantz Elementary in New Orleans, flanked by federal marshals. Angry crowds jeer, their hatred evident, but Ruby walks forward, head held high. She is the face of change, a symbol of courage in the fight for racial equality in America. July 1943, before the Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history, Russian soldiers stand ready. Their expressions reveal a mix of determination and apprehension, knowing the brutal fight that awaits them. As tanks roar in the distance, these men prepare to etch their names into history. In 1863, the scars on the back of an escaped slave named Gordon serve as undeniable evidence of the horrors of slavery. Captured in a haunting photograph, his wounds tell a story words cannot, one of pain, survival, and the urgent need for justice. His image galvanizes the abolitionist movement, fueling the fight for freedom. Somewhere in Australia, an enormous crocodile lies lifeless, its sheer size stretching beyond the frame of the photograph. Hunters claim it measures 28 feet, though perspective plays tricks on the eye. Whether fact or fiction, the image fuels tales of monstrous beasts lurking in the wild. In the ruins of Hassanlu, Iran, two skeletons lie locked in an eternal embrace, their final moments frozen in time. Dating back to 800 BC, they perished during a violent invasion, yet in death they remain together. Their story is lost to history, but their love transcends time. The year is 1899, and sharpshooter Annie Oakley stands poised, rifle aimed at a target behind her. Using only a hand mirror, she fires with pinpoint accuracy, astonishing the crowd. A true markswoman, Oakley's skill defies expectations, proving that talent knows no bounds. In 1925, the Alaskan town of Nome faces a deadly diphtheria outbreak. Braving blizzards and impossible terrain, sled dog Togo and his musher, Leonhard Sepala, complete the most treacherous leg of the Serum Run. Their journey, nearly 260 miles long, saves countless lives and cements Togo's legacy as the true hero of the Arctic. August 1961. East German border guard Konrad Schumann makes a split-second decision that changes his life forever. As barbed wire rises to form the Berlin Wall, he dashes toward the west, vaulting over to freedom. The moment, captured in a single frame, becomes an enduring symbol of Cold War defiance. Circa 1920, exhausted Belgian coal miners squeeze into an elevator, their faces blackened with dust. Their bodies ache, their lungs fill with soot, yet they endure, fueling an industry that powers nations. The image speaks of toil, sacrifice, and the unseen labor behind modern progress. December 7th, 1941, a soldier in New York shares a final lingering kiss before his leave is cut short. As war looms on the horizon, his embrace is one of love, uncertainty, and the knowledge that he may never return. The attack on Pearl Harbor will change everything, but in this moment, time stands still. In the early 1900s, famed lion tamer Jack Bonavita poses with his pride, surrounded by massive, untamed beasts. His mastery over them is undeniable, but fate has other plans. Years later, he meets a tragic end, not at the claws of a lion, but from a polar bear's fatal strike. April 1993. Michael Szymanski and his mother join nearly 1 million people in Washington, D.C., marching for LGBTQ+ rights. Their presence, a testament to love and acceptance, highlights the growing movement for equality. Their voices, along with countless others, demand recognition, dignity, and justice. May 6th, 1937, the airship Hindenburg bursts into flames, plummeting from the sky in a fiery inferno. As the disaster unfolds, a radio announcer cries out in shock, his voice capturing the horror. "Oh, the humanity!" This moment, broadcast worldwide, marks the tragic end of the era of passenger airships. Each of these images captures a rare moment in history, some triumphant, some tragic, all unforgettable. From the battlefields of war to acts of courage and resilience, these photographs serve as windows into the past, reminding us of the triumphs, struggles, and unbreakable spirit of humanity. Which image stood out to you the most? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey through history, support the Rare Moments in History channel by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing. And tell us, what rare moments would you like to see in our next video?